I'm really into traditional food. We have a farm. We're trying to figure out how to feed ourselves, not necessarily as successful as we would like early on, but we're working on it. And it seems like the story of food is kind of also the story of wine. So, all right, Diego, first, what is it exactly that you do? What do you do for Bonner Wine?
Hi guys, hi Alison, thank you for having me. Well, what I do for One Private Wines is pretty much go and try wines around the world and bring them back to America. So what we what we try to do is get these small producers and under the radar vineyards across Argentina, Chile, Spain, Italy, France that don't have enough volume to bring back to America or be able to fulfill a shelf in a total wine or on a wine shop. So we try to bring them and be able to remove the middleman and be making and bring it to everyone's home in America, because it's not what you get usually on your liquor store or your wine shop. Is not usually the best type of product, and I don't blame them. It's hard to find sometimes, so that's what I try to do and bring it back to America.
I'm showing this screen because this is part of the Allison Wine Promo landing page that people will see when they go sign up for the club. And it says that each bottle of wine in Allison's collection tells a story of its terroir. French. I was a French major in college. Okay, what is it? Yeah, tell me what this means exactly.
So I'll tell you a little bit, because it's like what we try to vision every time that someone is drinking one of the bottles that we're bringing back is that they have a story to tell. And when we have a story to tell, everything tastes a little bit better, just because you know where it's coming from. It is a family business, or is it a craft? Is it a historic place? We're trying to show these type of places. And when we say terroir, every wine has a different terroir. Every country has different soils. Every wine grows in different conditions. So it's a technical name, but overall, what we want to bring in here is that you have something to learn from the wine or from the place or where it comes from or the grape. So we try to give you that little extra edge on you when you're drinking your wine. It's not simple the 5 o'clock glass of wine, but it's also something else that is behind it. There's usually a family, or there's usually a small producer or someone that when this businessman that quit everything and just started a small winery because that was his whole life dream. We have all sorts of the stories in the wine world. So it's fantastic that you're able to help those small producers.
All of you who have gone to Allison Wine Promo, you've had the amazing extremist altitude wines, as I call them. I don't just say extreme anymore, Diego. I say extremist altitude, because that's the cool kids club in the United States now. If you haven't been called an extremist yet, then you're probably just still living in your grandma's basement. That's what I say. So thank you to everybody who's already been part of the club and the experience, I should say. But the new venture that we are launching is the club, where we have 6 different bottles every 3 months. And now it's not just extreme altitude from Argentina. We're doing amazing wines from different countries all over the world. And Diego is the guy who goes and drinks them all before we do. Before we started recording, you were talking about how, for instance, like organic wine is becoming more popular. And we look at the wines that are part of the wine club, and you're saying like the organic label isn't even something they necessarily consider, because it's like the methods they've been doing forever, for years and years and years. It's not a marketing scheme for them.
Yeah. The whole thing with the organic name or certifications, every country has a different one. So every vineyard will have to apply for one. But the one from the US, it's a particular one. And if, for example, we try to certify our vineyard in here, we already have all the practices. But if we wanted to get the stamp on our label, they were asking, I think, besides the visits of the guys that have to go and certify the vineyard, they were asking, I think, like 0.5% of every export we did to the US, which for us, it's a lot of money when we're only producing sometimes 7,000 bottles. So it just completely became something that is more bureaucratic that is actually meaningful. So what we have done in the club and with all these practices is that we don't demand them this type of of certifications, but we actually go and check. For example, I'll be there and be saying like, oh, you do have organic practices. You're not using any pesticides on your vineyards. And yeah, and that's something we have to take it for worth of mouth, but we're actually in there seeing how the vineyards operated. We see that it's a healthy place. So that already tells you a lot about what the winemaking practices and what's going to be the end result you're going to have, versus going to a vineyard that is doing 1 million bottles a year, and you don't know how they're making every single bottle taste the same. And that's what.
Yeah. Is there even a way to do that kind of volume without cutting corners, I guess, on something, you know?
Yeah, I'm very respectful with winemaking, or whatever path you want to make. If you want to make Coca-Cola to make all your earnings, it's totally fine. Or if you want to do something more with more craft, I support both parties. I am in the part of the craft right now, and that's if you ask me, I don't think you can do it, because like, if you think about it, stainless steel tanks have a certain size, and when you have 10 of those, you are going to end up with different products on different tank. But at the end of the day, you have to balance that out, be able to that it's actually fits a certain lab tests too, because you have to have certain sugars or certain acidity to be able to last, how you bottle it. All of that involves a more external hand, I will say, like a little bit of an additive in there.
Then what's the value that somebody gets in the Bonner Wine Collection, the Allison Wine Club collection? I guess let's talk about the opposite. I mean, I know you're a little. It seems like you're a little hesitant. You don't want to make any enemies out there in the wine world. I would be a lot meaner to Coca-Cola, but we don't want to waste our time on that. But yeah, I would love to just give people a little bit of a taste, no pun intended, of the opposite of Bonner. So what people may not realize about mass-produced wine.
I've always think how to explain it. And for example, do you know a wine region I used to go a lot, which is not very popular, but it's in the US more than the Sonoma or California. I used to go a lot to the New York wine country area, and it has 42 vineyards or so. But I'm telling you that, can we just edit that, because it's not gonna make that much sense. What I want to make, so that New York region, actually one of the best products in there, it's also corn, like that fresh corn that you eat, corn in a knob, etc. That corn tastes 10 times better than any corn you're gonna find in a supermarket in New York City. They're only a few miles away, but it just makes a complete difference when you're buying it directly from the source. And that's exactly what we're doing in Bonner Private Wines. And that's what the wines we're going to bring for the Alice Morrow Club is the wines that are actually handcrafted, come straight from the vineyard. They're not buying grapes from anybody else. They know what they're putting onto their wines, like what's going into the bottle. It's as authentic as you can get. And what we do is that there are many small places around the world that are producing it, but it's very hard. It's a very hard market to penetrate in the US if you don't have enough reach. So what we do is we bring a pool of small producers, we partner with them, and we bring their wines into the US. And that's one of the things we've done in Argentina in the north. We have now worked with around 10 winemakers, and I can tell you that how much they have grown just with us working as a little group of our community and bring them back to the US. It's amazing. It's like just to put you a little bit into perspective, for example, of Argentina, extreme altitude wines that you were thinking, and the ones in the US or even in Europe. Argentina's mountains were growing wines at 9,000 feet or over 9,000 feet. The highest vineyard in Europe, which is in Switzerland, we're talking about a vineyard that is at 3,000 feet.
Wow,
and the US is at, I'll say, 700 feet, and that's what they consider altitude. So it's like we have
Oh,
so much differences in altitude, for example, and that's a big influence in the type of wine you get. You get more polyphenols, resveratrol, which is all things that are then represented and transferred into the wine. I'm not here to give the medical advice, but we have lab measured the different results of this type of wines, and higher the altitude, the better the benefits also, and the
hmm.
better the product.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that Bonner Wine connected with me years ago was because I happened to mention on a podcast that they watched, the guys over there
Yeah, yeah.
watched, that I like to drink high altitude Malbecs from Argentina. I said that specifically, and they said, "Oh, well, we got to find her because that's exactly what we sell." And one of the reasons I got really into them is because of exactly what you just described. I was interviewing a
Mm,
naturopathic physician in Seattle, and he was telling me all about these high altitude wines and
mhm.
what he believes to be the health benefits too. If you're going to be a wine drinker, you don't have to drink wine, but if you're going to be a wine
Yeah,
drinker, you want something that, isn't full of, I don't know, I'm sure they put preservatives and other kinds of stuff like,
yeah.
I don't know, in wines that are, or maybe flavorings and stuff. I think Matt,
Oh, yeah, totally.
yeah, he sent me some background and said free from chemicals like mega purple dye, oak
Oh, yeah.
flavoring, and pesticides. Yeah, so I thought that was, interesting. I never heard of mega purple dye or oak
Yeah.
flavoring before.
My theory is that those are the things that actually stain your white clothes if you spill your red wine. Like
Oh.
I spill wine all the time, and actually it does come off.
Or what about on your
But
teeth?
ah, yeah, but that's just, to be honest, that's only your teeth being a little bit dirty after dinner, and they
Oh,
just the
that's not the
the
one.
thing just sticks to the.
That's funny.
It has something to stick to, and you said a very interesting point, and we can leave this for another day. But you did mention about people not drinking and how people are taken to extreme, and that's totally fair. I know it's all about extreme, but the World Health Organization has been on a crusade just to say that even a single glass is it's horrible for your health. Like not even one glass, it's okay. Which is it's just like ruling for everyone without having a consideration of what wine producers do or what they have. They have been drinking this all their life. They
Yeah.
grew up. It's a very inconsiderate rule, I think, of that. And even now, they try to tax us on our percentage of alcohol in our wines. And us, because we have higher altitude, we produce a little bit more of sugar because of the sun radiation, which is completely natural. Then on the fermentation process, we produce more alcohol.
That's
So
interesting.
it's a little bit of a okay. You don't wanna drink, it's fine, but don't say drinking a glass of wine is completely horrible for your health. Listen, just don't take it to the extreme because
Well, you
we're
don't have
all
to
grown ups. We don't need to be
you
the
don't
nanny state in here for that.
you don't have to sell my audience on the WHO being the nicest way I can say it is problematic in
Hmm.
its ideas and messaging. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, totally.
Okay, I have really enjoyed this. We're going to have Diego on a bunch, talk more about all kinds
Hmm.
of aspects of this topic and tell us more about his jobs and where he goes. And I think maybe next time we'll focus on the Argentine vineyards because that would be really cool to hear about the extreme altitude vineyards and just tell us some of their stories, the families and their practices, their farming practices. But you've gotten a good intro, so I hope you all will go out to AllisonWinePromo.com. You're going to end up on a listserv. You'll be able to stay in touch. Like I said, we're going to do this and talk more about it in the future. I really appreciate everybody who's already been supporting. And, really, this has been like the main supporter of my show from the very beginning. So I really appreciate what Bonner Wine and Diego, your work, what you guys have done. Cause I don't know if I could say I would be here today without, without you guys. So I really appreciate
Without
you
the
too.
wine. No, and thank you for taking out the message out there too. It's not everyone wants to do it. Some people just say like, I don't. I don't want to induce people to drink. I was like, no, it's not about drinking. It's about independence and having good products. So I think that's where we align.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really, yeah, I agree. I don't have any reservation, and it's not like even like selling to me. It's I really like it. And so I just feel like I'm
Mhm.
just telling other people about something that I like. So